What do you do on a brisk Friday evening?
Hello, I'm Rachel with Adventurous Heart, and one of the best things I love not only is hanging out with the wildlife that are my pets, the porcupines and the skunk, but I love going out and seeing all the wildlife in my backyard. So today we heard something call and we knew what it was. So we went searching around the trees to be able to find it. We started to look up really high. You can see I have my camera focusing up. Stick around to see what we found.
Just heard something calling from the treetops. Pretty hard to spot right now. We got Rachel down here with the camera. Let's check it.
Yes, that's exactly what we found. We heard an owl. And so this is the barred owl. So he'll say, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" So we heard him, and he's straight up there. I'm getting some really cool shots that I'll show you. He's staring down at us. And earlier, Phil went to go get the camera, and when he did, the owl started to look at him. And then, as we came under him, he's looking down straight at us. But it's so cool just to find all of the wildlife that's in your backyard. So something really cool right here. At first, Phil said, "Is that coyote scat?" And I said, "No, that's actually really cool." If you remember, maybe in grade school, you may have dissected these, but this is an owl pellet. So this is a common place our owl friend hangs out. And so after it eats its food, it kind of gathers this and it spits it out in a pellet, kind of like a cat has a hairball. And so we might try to dissect this and see if there are bone fragments inside of it, because after they eat all of their food, they will actually spit up some of the bones in an owl pellet. So really cool to be able to discover this in our backyard. It's time to dive a little deeper into these owl pellets that we found underneath the tree where the barred owl was sitting. And if you remember what you're looking at right now, yes, that is owl vomit, right? So when they are eating, they can't digest the fur or the bones, so they go ahead and collect it in one part of their stomach that they can't digest, and then they hack it up like a hairball or vomit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig through these and see if I can find what our barred owl friend was eating. So we're going to see if we can find any bones, any skulls, and actually, oh my gosh, look at this. That is totally, and I'll clean it up a little bit more, but that is totally a skull, and you can see big rodent type teeth. So maybe a mole, vole, something of that nature. But let me clean it up. But that is super cool. That actually was not planned at all. I just started to dig and found that. So really cool things to be able to find in your backyard. So let's see if we can clean this up a little bit. Oh, I love when you're discovering new things and new opportunities for learning present themselves. Super, super cool. Also remember, this brings me back to my childhood of dissecting owl pellets in grade school as part of a science project. Oh yeah, you can start to see, it looks like the lower mandible might be missing from this one. So it's just gonna be the top portion of it, and I'll keep using some tools. But you can see that there are kind of back here, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's teeth. So this is the top part of the mouth. There's teeth back here, and like all rodents, just like the porcupines, they're going to have their front incisors. They're gonna have two on top, and then there's a space, and then the additional teeth in the back. So very similar to the porcupines, which is pretty cool. And of course the eyeball was a soft tissue. Obviously it's missing. It's just the hard bones that are not digestible by the owl when it is eating. But super cool to have these guys in our backyard. And Phil behind the camera actually is the one who found the owl pellets and said, "Hey, is that coyote scat?" I said, "No, that's an owl pellet. How cool is that? I've never seen an owl pellet out in nature. They've always been sent for science projects." So as we looked around, we saw a couple more. So there's like 2 really small ones and then 1 bigger one. So I'm gonna keep digging through here and seeing. But really the big takeaway is, you know, whatever wildlife is in your backyard, take the time to really be able to get out and enjoy it, whether it's just sitting there and watching it and then discovering the actions it does, or, you know, taking time to learn things around it. So there was owls. So owls, in addition to puking, of course, are going to poop like any other bird. So we saw whitewash, meaning bird poop, underneath the tree. So it looks like the bird frequents there quite a bit. So now that we know that, we might go, of course, very slow and not too often, so not to disturb the animal, but just check up on it every once in a while. So take time to really find out all the cool things in your backyard. I'll check in with you a little bit more as I find some more things.
What'd you find, Rach?
So I think I found the other half of the skull that we found earlier. You can see the big rodent tooth here, and another one I found its other one because they always have 2 teeth on the bottom as well. But you can start to see the jawbone right here for the lower part, and then its big tooth. This was a pretty sizable one, so that barred owl ate pretty good when it found this one. But really cool to be able to find this in just a small little owl pellet that was about the size, a little bit bigger than that. So I'm excited to see what else is in the other ones. But this guy's eating pretty good, I think.
There's a few vertebrae you found too.
Yeah, so right here, this one's going to be the best one to be able to see. I'll put it on the white paper. So that's a vertebrae, obviously the spine of the animal, and then I'm finding some smaller bones as well. And right here you can actually see I'm pulling off some of the fur, and some of these teeth in the back, not the incisors, but like the molars that are in the back are falling out. So you can see those are some of the teeth of the mole, vole, shrew, something like that he ate. So to help you get a size of the scale of the animal that he ate, this is kind of like putting it together. You can see where the 2 teeth would line up. That's a pretty sizable animal with inside of this owl pellet. So that's some good eating. So the second smallest owl pellet was this one, and that's how much fur was in there, as well as this amount of bones, including that really cool skull. Now I'm going to go to the smallest owl pellet, and this one's pretty small, but it kind of looks like there might be something cool just inside of here. So I want you to see it with me. And it almost looks like these could be some teeth. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are definitely teeth.
You can see the other side of the mandible.
So this is a different one. So this is a different skull. This is a different owl pellet. But you can see how, you might be able to see, so it's real yellow on the end here. So I think this is an incisor tooth that is part of it. So we'll see if there's something else in here. But even in this itty bitty small one, there is something kind of cool. So let's see what else is in here. But the cool thing is each of the owl pellets, big from small, had some type of skull in it. The medium-sized one, I think, still wins with the coolest. These are all of the bones from the medium-sized one. The smallest one had just a couple. It didn't have a ton of things in it, but a few things. And then the big one, it looks like maybe it had 2 rodents in it. So there's one here that we cleaned out, and then one back here. So I'll clean that one up a little bit more, but it's so cool to see all of the things. Not just see it in here, but to really learn about what is it that the barred owl just outside our house is eating, and really how many other creatures are running around our house. So in addition to having fun with your pets, I encourage you to go explore the world in your backyard and see what kind of critters you can find. For me, I'm Rachel with Adventurous Heart,
And I'm gonna keep checking out this awesome owl, a barred owl.
I think he's winking at me. He says, "This is cool, lady, it's cool. We're pals." Except for the other night when he scared the crap out of us. We were walking through the woods around the pond and we must have gone right under him. And when they get scared, they don't say the "who cooks for you" noise. Instead, they scream like a woman who is terrified, and it terrifies you. It makes your heart beat 100 miles per hour, and then you realize it's an owl and everything's fine and you're thankful to have seen it.